Your calls on this. Should we scrap Shakespeare in school? 0207 862 2222 is the number to give us a ring. The number of students studying English literature at A-level has slumped, while barely a quarter of boys now say that they read in their spare time. Writing in the Times, an English teacher, Freddie Bavistock, reckons that scrapping Shakespeare in schools and studying more modern texts, or even Instagram and TikTok posts, will rejuvenate children's interest on the subject. What do we think about this, Marvyn?
I kind of feel like it is a bit outdated, and I do understand why young people are disengaging. I wouldn't say to scrap it because
history's outdated. We don't scrap that.
I think it's good in the context, but I think with something like Shakespeare, I think the language does disconnect people at times because it's no longer in common use. I do think it has a really good, important place in society because lots of words and phrases were invented within Shakespeare context, and it's great to get that understanding. But I think it's really hard to bring it to life in a new way when you're up against these sort of all-action editing of, like, I don't know, Jake Paul and KSI or whatever it is that these young people are watching now. It's very difficult to compete. So unless we find a new way to deliver the information, I always feel like it will feel slightly disconnected to young people when it can be something that gets phased out, whether the schools accept it or not.
It is quite unpenetrable language, Lizzie. You do have to sit there for quite a long time. I don't know about you, but if I go see a Shakespeare play, and I do like Shakespeare, I enjoy it, but it has to be well acted. Otherwise, I'm lost sitting there thinking, who did what and where did they go now? I find it really tough. And that's coming from somebody that loves it.
This is Shakespeare. It has love, tragedy, revenge, death, power, has everything that we have in today's life, and it's written in the most beautiful way. How dare they do this? The Woke Brigade, yet again, striking again. I can see them burning copies of Hamlet and Romeo and Juliet. I mean, haven't you ever compared yourself to one of his characters? I mean, gosh, my mum was always stopping me from seeing the boy I liked in, like, Romeo and Juliet, that love you always wanted. It's incredible.
Probably,
but, you know, students can relate to Shakespeare into their lives today, and I think it will be a crying shame. And look, they're made into movies. Romeo and Juliet, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. You can watch it and take something from it. Open your minds.
But hold on, they even had to they had to ship in Leo to try and get the young people to watch it, even when that was made back in
and it was a hit.
Yeah, late 90s.
Was it the early 90s?
Late 90s.
Late 90s, I was going to say. That made me feel really old.
It's timeless. It's timeless, and they've adapted the wording.
I think that's been proven wrong because I think young people are disengaging at scale, and I think if we want to keep people passionate, we have to reach them where they are as well as teach them new things.
What would you rather them read?
On that subject of literature, perhaps English students would like to study Taylor Swift, Lizzie. She's often held up as one of the best modern writers. So we've got a little quiz for you. Do you know your Shakespeare from Swift? We've got a selection of the Bard's best lines along with some classic Taylor Swift lyrics. But which is which? So I hope they've got the answers on here, otherwise I could get really stuck here. But here's the first one. Lizzie, since you're so pro-Shakespeare, I presume you're going to be able to guess which is which. So is this Swift or is this Shakespeare? Your touch brought forth an incandescent glow, tarnished but so grand.
I'm going for Shakespeare.
It's Swift, yeah, Marvyn.
What?
All right.
Okay.
So we're starting to sell Swift, right, just before we take a call. But get your calls in on this and maybe I'll test you too. 0207 862 2222 is the number. Marvyn, this one's for you. Is this Swift or is it Shakespeare? You are not worth the dust which the rude wind blows in your face.
Oh, that's Spill.
That's Spill?
Spill.
Yeah, that is William.
You absolutely both got that right. It is indeed Shakespeare. All right, let's go to the calls then.
Oh,
it's so far, Marvyn, you're doing very well.
I was getting competitive. I was like 1-0 up to me.
Jean, just like the baby rap. Yeah, you're competitive.
Very competitive.
Competitive side
with the
nappy
rap.
Come out. Jean, from London, you're up first. What's your thoughts when it comes to Shakespeare and just getting rid of it in schools?
Well, I'm dead against banning it. I was a schoolgirl in the 50s, which in those days was modern times. But we never banned Shakespeare in those days. The 50s was modern when I was a girl. Mm-hmm. The teachers took us to see Julius Caesar at the cinema, and I was absolutely riveted when I watched the Machiavellian plottings and plannings that went on between Julius and his cohorts and the rest of the Senate and all the rest of it. And then he got murdered. And Marlon Brando, as Mark Anthony, gave a fantastic speech.
Marlon Brando?
Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. Right? Now, anybody who doesn't understand those few sentences must be as thick as a plank. That's all I can say.
I think, Jean, if you take the sentences out of the whole context, I think you can break them down quite easily and you can understand the context and the emotion behind the words. I think when they are just coming at you as a barrage, if you're sitting listening to a play or you're trying to read the text in a classroom, it can be quite daunting. I do understand why people would be put off.
Well, I don't think context has anything to do with it. It's just like the young lady said on your panel. It's just, I agree with her, it's the beauty of the language. It's like poetry. It flows. And you get Romeo and Juliet, like she said, two young lovers who are thwarted by the parents because they're from different houses. The gangs of the streets in Italy were exactly the same as the gangs of the streets today.
Exactly. You can relate to it in today's life. You can relate.
The gangs of today get condemned quite violently.
No, but you can, and like in Othello, you can really. I totally agree with you. You look at the language. Yes, it's different, but you can relate it to modern day life as we're living today.
But we also have modern day
words.
writers that people absolutely adore. One of them being Swift. So, Jean, I'm going to test you here. You can look at your screens, but you can also listen. Swift or Shakespeare? How can it be said, I am alone, when all of the world is here to look on me? Who's that? Is that Shakespeare? Is that Swift, Jean?
Sounds a bit Swifty to me, that.
It is Swifty.
Does it sound Swifty?
Yeah.
That is, in fact, the bard. That is Shakespeare himself, Jean.
Wow.
So there you go.
Well,
Not everything Shakespeare writes is brilliant.
I never said that I knew every word of Shakespeare.
Exactly. Well said, Jean.
But I think, Jean, what we're trying to prove here is that actually you can have equally inspiring words by a modern writer as you can by Shakespeare. And maybe we need to look at English literature in a different way in order to encourage people to have a love of language, to have a love of books, to enjoy that escapism that you get when you sit down with a book. It's something that our young people are missing, and shouldn't we, even if it means letting go of a few of Shakespeare's sonnets, trying to be encouraging that?
No, don't let go of Shakespeare's sonnets. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease has all too short a date.
I hear you, Jean. You've clearly been
Jean,
very
you're
inspired
amazing.
by
We love you. Yes.
I remember going to a school interview once, and on the way, my mum turned around and went, and so do you know any Shakespeare speeches? And I was sitting there at 10 just thinking, no. When was I supposed to learn that? Was that through osmosis that was supposed to enter my brain? No. So then I'm in the back of a car trying to learn a Shakespeare speech. Completely impractical and was never going to happen. I appreciate you clearly can. But yes, have I convinced you now, Lizzie, that actually Taylor Swift and Shakespeare are not that different?
I wouldn't say that. I think they're very different. But look, they both can use beautiful words. And let's read. And look, and I have to say, isn't Jean amazing? Just so everyone should read. And you can jump into that character. Shakespeare had comedy, tragedy, had everything going. And we experience in modern day life.
But Jean found inspiration in Shakespeare, and what we're finding is young children aren't. So maybe this teacher is right when he says, look, we need to look at other artists and other writers that are going to inspire this generation. Lorraine from London, get rid of Shakespeare. That's what we're suggesting.
Hi there, good morning. Hi panel, hi Storm. I tutor Shakespeare. I'm an English and maths tutor, so I'm often planning my lessons actually when I'm watching your programme. I think I can see the two sides to it. I think Lizzie's view is absolutely excellent. Yeah, everything is really kind of like tailored, to life now and things. The only issue with it is the language. It's getting to grips with the way Shakespeare writes. That's my main challenge with my pupils. Once they understand the storylines, the characters, the context, the themes, and what Shakespeare is actually trying to sort of portray, they're really engrossed in it. And I think it's the way that teachers teach it as well in school. It is difficult, but if you can make it come alive.
I did wonder whether the teaching had a part to play in this, so I'm so glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm also delighted that a tutor is called up because I'm definitely testing you. Yeah. You spend your time testing others. Well, Lorraine, tables have turned somewhat, and I'm going to see whether you can tell your Swift from your Shakespeare. Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Right.
Here we go. You can have a look at your screen or you can have a listen. One bad seed kills the garden, one less temptress, one less dagger to sharpen.
Oh, do you know I'm going to go for Swift on that one.
What do you think, panel?
I think it's Swifty.
Yeah, you all got that one right, Swift. Okay, Lorraine, stay with me. I'm testing you again.
Right.
I'm determined to catch you out here. Okay, Swift or Shakespeare? When the first stone's thrown, there's screaming in the streets. There's a raging riot.
Oh, when the first stone's thrown, there's screaming in the streets. There's a riot. I would say Swift again on that one. I might be wrong.
I'm going Bill.
You're going, Bill.
No, I was going, you see, I'm two minds. I'm going to go for William. Sorry, Lorraine, I'm against you here.
You should have went with the tutor. This is why teacher always knows best.
Well done.
You're absolutely right. That was Swift. Swift has
great words. But that's
profound lyrics.
She must have read Shakespeare as a
Beyonce
girl, little girl.
Oh, well, that was a good argument to end that debate with. Well done there,
Thank
Lizzie.
you.
Lorraine, thank you very much for your call. Delighted to have a tutor there. Thank you for all your calls on that. Now, later, we're going to be asking if you've ever turned detective in order to track down your stolen belongings.